Namaste, welcome to my YouTube channel, welcome to Queensland, Australia, welcome to my second video on this subject. I tried to make one yesterday, I made the whole thing, I was really happy with it, and then I discovered that my memory card was corrupt. So here I am again, take two, hoping that I can distill the information I have for you today in as succinct form as I believe I did yesterday. So I'm trying to make today a video which is like an introductory type of video for a gentle awakening to what is happening on our planet right now. I've been speaking about this repeatedly in my videos, and I'm aware that some members, some viewers of audience that would tune into this may be a bit confused about what actually is happening and feeling quite overwhelmed by all the different information. So I know that there's a risk of me just simply adding to that. Yet another voice, yet another story. But I'm noticing that we seem to need a plethora of voices at the moment because honestly, the truth is really only something that you can discover for yourself. It's not something that you can be told. It's something that you have to learn. So what I offer today is simply a kind of a snapshot so that then you can go away and do your own research, listen to your own guidance. There's many ways to access this information, not just out there, but also in here. A lot of this truth will resonate with you. When you hear truth, it'll resonate. There'll be something like, "Ooh, that's interesting. I want to know more about that." That little impulse that you get when you're watching these types of channels or you're reading material, that's what you should be following, that kind of inner GPS. So in the spirit of that, I'll attempt to distill gently what's happening on the planet. And I say gently because there's a whole bunch of very dark material out there at the moment, which is just fine because much of that appears to be true, and that's needed for some people. Other people, especially very sensitive souls, people who might consider themselves to be light workers or starseeds, or maybe just kind-hearted, sensitive people that just don't want to know about all these horrible conspiracy theories and everything, then this video is for you. So the gentle guide. Okay. The first point that I want to cover today is that, to the best of my knowledge, I believe and I know through my own direct experience, my contact, that we are not alone, that humanity is not alone. Some of you will be going, of course, that's, I know that. I have stumbled across this information, or I've always kind of known that in my gut, but for some of you it might also be really new. So the confusion comes about in humanity because we've been lied to. The highest levels of government and beyond government, because government is only quite a low tier of the control structure on our planet. So those higher levels have kept this from humanity. We've had extraterrestrial contact on our planet for as long as human history has been written, and it's not just about contact, it's also about where we actually come from. So it's not just about contact on the planet, like aliens coming down in flying saucers. It's actually about the fact that they've been here, they've been visiting us. That's one aspect. They continue to visit us. And secondly, they created us. They have brought life here. Many, many different races of them from different star systems have created life on Earth through, I guess you could call it genetic engineering, and some of them benevolent, I believe most of them benevolent, and also some negative interference as well. They've all had a lot of different agendas about what they wanted for the human race, and unfortunately a particular group of them who I'm not going to name, but suffice to say, a group of them with negative intentions has had primary control of the human consciousness on our planet. They have sought to suppress our connection to source and our higher evolutionary capacities, I suppose you could say. Things like our psychic abilities, our deepest intuition, and they've done this through genetic interference as well as mind control, manipulation of our consciousness through power structures. So in the past, those power structures would have looked like the priests or priestesses or whoever held the knowledge of the religions, and that was a major control system for many thousands of years on the planet. And more in the last since the age of reason, like the Renaissance, the last 400-500 years, we've seen a shift to dominant mind control structures being more science and then of course our authorities as well. So our government structures, whoever is governing us, which once might have been the kings of the land or the queens, and now it's sort of shifted into our governments of each of our countries, the way that our globe is organized right now. Education system is another one that massively influences us, as is the mass media. So what we know is the mainstream media, our televisions, our newspapers. So that is the primary way, mind control, psychological manipulation, that we've had this knowledge hidden from us of our galactic heritage, where we've come from, and also the fact that many of us have actually been born of the stars, that we've come from the stars, that we have our own ancestry in the stars. And the reason I can confidently speak about this subject, it's not just something I've read in a book, is we've got two major sources of information on our planet today. We have channels, so we have people that are able to psychically connect with these beings and receive information. And we also have our own psychic connections. So a channel might clearly bring through a group, a soul complex of a particular star race, or we ourselves may experience memories, past life memories of being on different planets or even past lives on this planet, and esoteric knowledge that is held in our Akashic record. So our record of everything that ever was, has been, will be. This might sound kooky and weird to some of you who have never been introduced to this idea, but as far as I can understand, through my own direct experience of communicating with these beings and reading the channelings of others, that this is actually really normal in the many star systems that exist in our world, our universe. That the Earthlings are a unique experiment in that we've been completely cut off from this knowledge. So we've had to exist here on Earth in this very dense physical reality, not knowing where we're from and our connection and our capacity, our spiritual capacity to evolve. So it's almost as if we've been majorly handicapped. Now, even though we've had malevolent interference in our spiritual growth, it isn't as if, like from a higher perspective, it's not as if those beings haven't served a purpose, have just done wrong and it's a terrible thing and, we're victims. From a higher perspective, we've agreed to this arrangement and we've wanted it for our own spiritual growth. And this experience on Earth is also known as the grand experiment of the galaxy, of the universe. Can a race of beings such as the human being, ascend spiritually whilst being so weighed down, whilst being so in the dark, whilst being so manipulated? And the nice thing that I'm able to share with you today is the answer is very definitely yes, that we can evolve, we can spiritually ascend, because our hearts have won. Our hearts have already won. Humanity is shifting gears, and we had some major markers that we've actually crossed. 2012 was one of them. but especially the last 100 years, the call out has come from the hearts of humanity. Now, it's not like we all got together and talked about this and sent a message to the aliens. It's not quite how it works. It's a consciousness level. It's an energetic frequency that we give out. So whenever, through our calling out for help and assistance from these beings, and also through our actions, what have we chosen to do? And even though there are a few people on our planet, and I really say a few, there are only at the very top of our control structures a few people that have seeded such corruption and such manipulation that it's had a trickle-down effect, and it's created systems that keep people in bondage and slavery. But those few are the ones that want that. The vast majority of humanity wants peace, wants unity, wants love. And because that frequency, that wanting, is always being emitted in the aggregate, right? It's a collective wanting. That message, that request has been heard from our galactic brothers and sisters, who are us on a multidimensional level, right? So Earth is a strange experience in the sense that everything slows down, and we have this thing called linear time, and we feel separated from our source, our connection to all that is. But in a higher dimensional frequency, we know that we are connected, we are one, we are everything all at once, and this is what the magic of quantum science is now proving to us scientifically, that we are all one and we are all entangled. And in the higher dimensions, time, as we know it down here, does not exist. It collapses so that past, present and future are all one. So these beings that appear to us as future selves or higher selves are in fact us. We are having a multi-dimensional experience. And again, if it's completely new to you, then that's fine. Just kind of bumble along as best you can to follow what I'm saying. Feel into your heart, see if it's at least interesting, and then you can begin to explore it more. Because I was as asleep as anybody maybe 10 years ago. I had a major psychotic breakdown which brought up much of the things that were blocking me from my own evolution. And then once that stuff was out of the way, once I kind of worked through a lot of my shadow and my trauma that I'd been holding on to from not just this life, from many lives, then my greater connection to all that came online, and I started to communicate with higher aspects of myself. I started to have a lot of past life memories, started to connect dots, and more recently I've had very clear communication with certain interdimensional beings that are assisting me personally, and probably assisting many of us. I don't know. It seems like there's a number of groups of them that I communicate with personally. So yeah, so I know from those experiences that we are not alone. We are absolutely not alone. And I'll post a couple of links that'll, you can start to explore some of this stuff. So that's the first thing. We're not alone. The second thing, and I've already been alluding to it, is that we've been really hugely manipulated. So our experience of reality has been a construct that was not constructed by us. Although I'll kind of extrapolate that a little bit. The intention was not constructed by us. The intention behind our reality. Now, intention is everything. When we manifest in this universe, me or any other being, right? Many wonderful creative beings in the universe that are manifesting realities all the time. The intention behind it is of a frequency, and that's what creates whether it manifests as a positive experience or a negative experience. Now, the intention behind our reality has been negative because it was given to us. It has been manipulated, unseen, unbeknownst to us. The puppeteer, right? The puppeteer pulling the strings. And that puppeteer has created humanity to construct reality a certain way through our belief systems. So we've been taught to believe certain things, and the output is what you've seen around you. as a living man or woman on this earth today, up until very recently, our reality was kind of stuck in a whole lot of limiting beliefs. It was created from limiting beliefs. Some of those limiting beliefs are things like scarcity, that there's not enough resources for us all. Think about how our children are constantly taught, and we were taught as well, about everything running out, and we need to do monocultures with genetically modified plantations because we're going to run out of food. So many myths like that have been pushed onto us. Very damaging myths. Myths about not being okay as we are. Myths that we need to look thinner or fatter depending on what era we live in, or we have bigger breasts or smaller breasts, or this is your ideal man, this is your ideal woman, this is an ideal mother, this is an ideal father, this is what you should aspire to in life, this is what you should believe. We've been brainwashed. And that word is used because the beliefs have been imposed. They aren't beliefs that we've consciously chosen. They were given to us. They were given to us through our parents who had them given to them. And we've also had on our planet a lot of traumatic things that have been created by these malevolent beings that have created trauma. So trauma, what it does is it fragments the consciousness so that the person believes negative, believes that the world's out to get them, is kind of stuck in a fight or flight mode, and the fragmentation prevents them from being whole. And it is only when we are whole that we can access source, which is why the self-healing is so important. If you're sitting at a point right now as you watch this video where you've still got a lot of work to do to bring those fragments back together, to love yourself and heal any wounds that were given to you by your circumstances, then that's your job right now. That is the most important thing you could possibly do on the planet right now, is to heal yourself. Because we're going through a collective healing as well. We're kind of, it's interesting because I think when a healing crisis happens, things always look worse before they look better. So I know for myself, when I went through my psychosis, my world fell apart. It turned on its head. My belief systems were all over the place. I didn't, even know who I was. I really lost my center. And I feel as if humanity is going through that at the moment as well. Really, what do we believe? There's a healing crisis. And so things always look worse. And partly that's because the old has to crumble and dissolve before we can build the new. And we're going to build the new with good intentions, with intentions that come from our hearts. Because like I said, if you actually talk to the majority of human beings on this planet, the deepest intention is to create a beautiful world that we can share with each other, that celebrates diversity, that is tolerant of each other and our differences. The negative beings have sought to divide and conquer. They're always about division. You'll notice on mainstream media, there's so many labels flung around that, dole bludgers, or that's an Australian term for people who are on welfare. Anti-vaxxers, let's label these people and call them something that everyone else can get upset about, or greenies and tree huggers, or any issue in society that is divisive. There's always labels that pull people apart. So the impulse, I think, that's burgeoning in humanity's heart right now is the impulse to come together, to set aside our differences and work together. And so again, right now, if you're sitting in a situation in your own life where there's a lot of division and conflict, the challenge for you is to, how do I work with these energies to create unity? Unity doesn't mean we're all the same. Unity means we appreciate differences and can bring all those differences together to create a shared understanding and a harmony, right? It's a very energetic way of working at the highest level. On the ground, it kind of looks like compromise sometimes, or letting things be, or, you know, modifying to help each other out, obviously within reason. It's not okay to be abused, and it's very important that we have our boundaries in place as well to protect ourselves. So that's essentially it. We're not alone, and we've been manipulated. And I guess something else worth mentioning, the third idea of this is that part of the manipulation has that we've been manipulated to live in fear. So I just want to touch on frequencies right now, because this will give you the big picture about what's coming. That humanity, the whole planet, has been in a state of fear. And that's what's caused this reality that we see around us. That, as I said, there's a lot of programming that's created that fear. And the fear frequency is a reaction frequency. So when you're frightened of something, you react. You go into survival mode, you're in fight or flight, you'll do anything to look after your family, stuff everybody else, right? That's a primal reptilian brain urge. Now, if we're afraid of that, if we don't have things to be afraid of, or we perceive that, we choose to hold that belief for ourselves, that we are safe, that everything is well, then we act with rationality, reason, and love. And we're able to bring online our higher qualities, our compassion, our forgiveness, and we just make better decisions from that place. So what's happened is we've been manipulated to live in a fear frequency, and many of the atrocities that have happened on the planet, I kind of want to say all of the major atrocities that have happened on our planet. So think world wars, think bar natural disasters, but even those, there's some ideas about weather manipulation that have actually caused drought, that have caused floods, that have caused tsunamis. That one's a bit, iffy. But yeah, essentially the wars. You think of the media, how they're constantly perpetuating fear. There's never anything good on television. It's all just bad, bad, bad. There was a bashing in the park, and the stock market's going down, and It's just, we're being programmed to live in fear all the time. That's for a reason, because if these beings can keep us in fear, then we won't be able to access our higher capacities. And the thing that is saving us right now is going to save us, and already has in a sense, because this timeline of liberation and freedom from this control is underway. It is happening. It is a sure thing. And the reason that we are ascending is because of our hearts, because we hold so much love in our hearts, and our hearts are coming online. So we're being assisted a great deal. Everything's so interconnected. We can't just say, oh, it's just humanity that's doing this. It's actually the planet Earth. The planet is wanting to ascend from her third dimensional experience into a fifth dimensional experience. So a fifth dimensional experience is one of the bliss states. It is a very high frequency. It's a frequency where this darkness cannot exist. So one reason that we're seeing all this darkness come up right now is because the planet is ascending in frequency, and we're all ascending with her. So as we ascend in frequency, everything must come to consciousness. Everything must be seen. It's like light is flooding us, and when there is more light, everything in shadow is seen. So I just want to touch on coronavirus as well, because that's another way of instilling fear. Part of the plan of this pandemic was to create a lot of fear. And no matter where this virus comes from, when you think about it, it's impossible to really argue that the mainstream media have not contributed to that fear enormously. So, and have pushed, also from the World Health Organization, pushed things on us that have caused us to fear. Having to wear masks all the time and socially distance. Now we've got to be scared. We've got to be scared of each other. We've got to be scared of germs, right? 100 years ago, that would have had catastrophic effect on the consciousness of humanity, and we would have slid into a dark age. But because we're in a completely different time, because we are in the ascension energies right now, our whole planet is actually moving through a part of the solar system where the photonic light is higher than it's ever been. We can measure this, so if you don't believe me, go have a look at the Schumann resonance. I'll post a link to that as well. Schumann resonance being the frequency of the Earth, and it goes like this, but it's on the aggregate, it's going up, up, up all the time. We are hitting higher frequencies on this Earth than we've ever experienced before. So it's causing a lot of discomfort, right? It's bringing up stuff on an individual level. It's giving people strange dreams. It's activating our DNA and our memories and our psychic capacities and our intuition, our telepathy, our knowing, our spiritual selves. So it's such a big picture. It's such a big picture. But it's an amazing picture. And, if you can, on an individual level, on a practical level, recognize when you're in a fear frequency and say to yourself, oh, wait a minute, that's a frequency. That's a frequency built out of, usually it's created from a whole lot of stories in your head that are fear-based. Thoughts running around there like, am I going to lose my job, and what will happen, and we're all going to get vaccinated, or whatever it is that you're frightened of. Maybe you're not frightened of vaccination, maybe you're frightened of coronavirus. They're all just stories. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the frequency you're in. That's what you're going to create. So you want to get out of the fear frequency. Do it somehow. But I hope videos like this contribute to raising you up out of that fear frequency, helping you to see a bigger picture, and just at least, even if you don't fully understand it or it doesn't all make sense, at least go, well, there are people on the planet right now that are really excited, that are really positive, that know what's going on, and there are not only people on the planet, but there are beings with us. They are everywhere. They are hearing our calls for help. They are beaming this photonic light at us. They're protecting us from the worst case scenarios, because we've already chosen. Humanity has already chosen an ascended timeline. Now, everything that ever manifests begins in the causal plane. It begins with thought. So you have a thought, and it kind of like trickles down through the realms, through the subtle realms, down into the physical realm, and it manifests. And that's how everything works. This is another truth that's been hidden from us. We've been told the opposite. We've been told that there's external reality and I have thoughts based on that. No, it's the other way around. Our thoughts create our reality. Of course, it's a feedback loop all the time. But this is where it starts. So humanity has already had the thought, the collective thought, that we want liberation, that we want peace, that we want a golden age. We want a golden age. So it's manifesting. And there are people on the planet right now that are living in that state of bliss and happiness and love and knowing, deep knowing, connectedness. It's a very different experience to the old third dimensional paradigm. And I'm one of these beings that can speak from both worlds, because I have been a human being here on this planet with a third density consciousness, heavy, fearful, confused, believing the lies that were fed to me, and waking up out of that and going, wow, I can trust myself. I can trust nature. It's another lie that was told to us, is that nature is to be feared. Even this virus, like there's a virus, it's like we've got to fear it. We've got to fear germs. Germs are natural. Nature is our friend, not our foe. Yes, sometimes, a storm happens and a branch falls on you and, it's stuff happens. But the shamans know, the indigenous people who never lost their fifth dimensional knowledge, despite all the traumas that happen on this planet, they're still tapped in and tuned into this earth grid, to the the higher mind and the higher heart of the planet itself, which is a living consciousness, those people remember that they are connected to everything and that we each have power to co-create with this universe that we see around us, which means we can ask nature for its benevolence. We can work with nature. You know, I've done a lot of work like that myself. I got stung by 10 wasps recently, and the old paradigm me would have been like, evil wasps, you know, I might die, or better go get something from the doctor. But in a fifth dimensional consciousness, the first thing I realize is that I'm working with nature, so there's a reason why I've been stung by 10 wasps. We would call it wasp medicine. And wasp had a lot to teach me. Now, of course, I use some things that I have at my house, some natural remedies to assist with the swelling, but my relationship with that wasp was what counted. Our relationship with nature is going to come back. We're going to remember that we are children of this earth and we have a relationship with it, and she has us. She cares for us. She loves us. We're not separate from it. We're not sinners. We're meant to be here. And we can speak to nature and we can ask for nature to be cleaned from the pollution and the terrible things that have happened. Our planet's been poisoned. Yes, by us in a sense, but the intention for that poisoning came from these beings that have been manipulating and controlling us. Without their influence, we're not going to do that. We're not going to factory farm chickens. We're not going to poison our waterways. We're just not going to do that because we lead from the heart. We think from the heart. So this is the new human being. This is the new earth. And this is your gentle guide to awakening. So I hope that made sense and I haven't lost too many of you along the way. Please explore the links below, and I'm just sending you guys so much love for your journeys ahead. Come with us who are embracing this change, because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, and we want all of humanity. That's my deepest wish, that everyone is happy and everyone is at peace, and it's possible. It's absolutely possible. So believe it so, and it is. With much love and gratitude for you watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Namaste.